The hardest part of leadership isn't making those really big decisions that everyone sees. It's holding the line when no one's watching. And when you make those really small decisions that no one's ever going to know about. That's what truly defines the culture of your business. Most leaders think that the visible big decisions are the ones that really define them as leaders and their companies. You know, the big speeches, the company-wide initiatives, and the moments that everyone sees. But the real culture isn't built on those public moments. It's built in the quiet, invisible choices you choose to make every single day. The hardest leadership moments are the ones rarely celebrated because no one sees them happening. And yet those moments shape the DNA of your business. We hear it across, Instagram posts and the motivational things. Culture is what you tolerate. But there's kind of a truth in that. The team is always watching you, and they learn more from the way you do things than what you tell them to do. And if you let small things slip, lateness, sloppy work, not vacuuming the floor at the end of the day, those little things can really add up. And if you're not careful, one day you wake up with this realization that the culture has drifted away from the standards you thought you had. And bringing that culture back in line is always harder than keeping it where it needs to be. And unfortunately, as the leader and holding the line of that culture, it does mean that there is an uncomfortableness that you have to go through. It means saying no when it would be easier to say yes. It means enforcing those standards that no one ever sees and the inconsistencies that they bring with it. And it means protecting that culture, even if it costs you your popularity as a leader. And as a leader, we're not really there to be liked. We're there to lead our team and build the business and make sure everyone has jobs next week. And no one will see, and very few will understand the discipline that you hold yourself to behind those decisions. Because people will celebrate you when you're doing really well and the high performing culture, but they don't see those quiet, uncomfortable decisions that you have to make on a day-to-day basis. Do you pull up an employee about this thing that might be really minute and insignificant in the short term, but in the long term will have a huge effect? But those small lapses that you might go, short term, it doesn't really matter, they're going to compound really, really quickly. And it's because of all these long decisions, small decisions have to be unpopular that leadership can feel incredibly lonely. Because you're often the only one holding the standards at first until you get the team where you need to be. And the team are going to push back and they're going to push your boundaries and they're going to see what they can get away with, a bit like toddlers really. But it means you have to keep the line and you have to do these things before it's popular. And you have to set that tone, not when it's applauded, but when you know it's right. Because if you lower that bar and you let people get away with it, it's the easy option. And it's really easy to lower the bar if you need to. But if everyone's got this basic standard, it's really hard to lift that bar and improve on those standards. And this is why the prevention of it is always easier than the cure. So you have to get used to and train yourself almost to develop the skill of spotting that erosion early and ask yourself regularly, what am I tolerating that I shouldn't be tolerating? And if you are tolerating something that you shouldn't be, and we all do, we all slip into that hole at some point, you have to hold yourself accountable and you have to pull yourself out and you have to pull your team up on it. Because it's those invisible moments in leadership that no one sees, but that will shape your business moving forward. And for the team, it's if you keep on about it, they will start to trust your consistency. It may not feel like it in the short term and they might get really annoyed with you because you keep banging on about making sure the bin isn't overflowing or sweeping a floor or cleaning fingerprints or how you greet a customer when they walk into your business or how you present a quote. But if you do it consistently enough, the team will start to trust you. And once they start to see the results of that trust as well, they will start holding people accountable. And that does mean short-term, uncomfortable conversations and having to pull people up on the underperformance. But there's a level and leadership, and it's about being fair and kind. And I think from my experience, as long as you do it in a fair, kind way, people know that you're not trying to be mean or pulling them up for the sake of it, but you're trying to pull everyone forward. We had a situation in one of our hair salons where we got some sign writing on the wall or on the window that points out front that says walk-ins available. So because we did that, the team then felt there wasn't a need to keep putting out our A-frame out front that said walk-ins available, because to them it was just a repeat of what was on the wall. And I get that, I understand that. However, we had them for two different purposes. So the sign on the window we put there so that even when we're not open, people can still see that we accept walk-ins, because a lot of shops don't accept walk-ins. The A board was specifically designed and chosen to attract attention on the day. And so we put it in the path of people, so as they're walking past, they see it, it triggers something, and they come in. What we noticed was when the A-frame wasn't out, there was actually a drop in those walk-ins. So I had to have this incredibly uncomfortable conversation with our team saying the A board has to go out every day. And so for a few weeks, I would drive past the shop just to see if that A-frame was out. And if it wasn't, I'd pull over, I'd park up, I'd walk in and go, can we put the A-frame out? Wait until they put the A-frame out and then carry on. And it started to annoy people that I was doing this. And I sat down with them and I said, I don't understand why we've suddenly stopped putting it out. And even after the explanation, it took a few weeks for them to continue to put that sign out. But now we have, our walk-ins have increased again, and we're back to where we were. And there was a lot of pressure because they just kept on saying to me, oh, you know, it's just the once, it's just the once. And there's always that pressure to go, oh, well, that's okay today. I'm not going to drive past the shop, even though I know that probably the sign isn't out. But I was able to resist that temptation because my role is to make sure that people walk through the door every day. And things like that can affect it. So I had to keep on and on until we got that resolved. And it's those habits that people don't notice. I refer to it as the 1%. They're the 1% of things that no one notices or no one thinks are important, but actually have a significant impact. And it means that we're holding the line, because I know if we're holding the line of something as simple as putting out the A board, our competitors won't be. And there will be days that they don't put it out because they don't feel like it, or it's raining, or it's windy, or whatever it may be. So on those days, we can take that advantage. And over time, that will compound into significant advantage. But once again, no one sees that on the day. But it takes time. It takes 6, 12, 18, 24 months for that to really come about. And the whole leadership and these standards, it is always a long game. The payoff for it is rarely instant. People resist and they might even leave over the consistency that I put in place over these standards. And that's all fine, because I'm looking at the long-term health of the company, not the short term. But what I noticed is that once I started to put the pressure on people to make sure that A-frame was out, all the standards across the board started to lift slightly. And we got 5 team members in that salon, and they all started to lift their game. Even when we had a new person come in, what I saw was the person who hadn't been putting out that A-frame was starting to enforce the standards. And that's what we're looking for. We're looking for that consistency that you breed in one to cross the entire way across the company. And it is uncomfortable and no one enjoys doing it, but it has that significant impact. So once a month, and I encourage you to do the same, we sit down and we look at where are the small cracks that we're ignoring that could become big cracks in time? And how can we put things in place to stop them happening? Because we have to remind ourselves that the culture is built in the moments no one sees. And those leaders that hold the line, even when it's hard, will build the businesses that last. So if you're a business owner or leader and this is resonating with you, connect with me on LinkedIn. Those invisible moments, the ones that you feel small and exactly what separate you from businesses that thrive and the ones that quietly erode.